8:30, and on Tuesday, that means it's time for the Heber Valley Hometeam. Lisa Orme and Genene Miles are here. Welcome. Nice to have you again.
Thanks. Good to be here.
You're grumbling about the traffic on your way in this morning. It's always a problem. People going too fast or going too slow,
Yeah.
I guess. All right.
Coming from Midway when it snows too, people are just, they go slower than they well, I guess it's being cautious.
I beat the snowplows out yesterday, so
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than the other way around. All right, so you've got something set up over in the corner there. What's that little gizmo?
It's just a video. We're gonna video these and start putting them on our YouTube channel so people can get on there and listen to what we talked about.
That's great. And a seltzer water, that looks interesting.
It's just bubbly water.
Just soda water. Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
I hate it.
We were talking before the music ended about maybe prepping your home for before you start showing it. There's some hints there to things that you need to do.
Well, the hard thing is if you're living in your home and you want to sell it, it's real important to get as much stuff out as you can possibly get, because when people go in your home, they tend to look at your stuff rather than your home. So, and it is hard when you're living there and trying to show and trying to sell your home. So, I think the best thing you could do is, if you're not using it, put it away, box it up, put it away. You're planning on moving, you're planning on selling your house, just put it in some boxes, put it in a storage, put it in your basement, wherever, just so people can get a visual of your house instead of all of your stuff hanging on your wall or on your counters or stuff like that. And make sure your home's tidy,
I just want to add two things. Genene is so good at that. She can walk in, and it is important to have somebody like Genene in with you, because you don't see it. You live with it every day and you don't see it. So to have somebody who's a professional who can come in and say, that has to go and that has to go, because it's stuff that you may have had on your wall for 10 years, or your personal pictures, your things that take people's eyes off of what they're buying and distract them, sometimes a lot of times is a really detriment to selling your home.
Is it offensive to some people saying, take that down, don't do this?
Sometimes, but most people, we explain to them, look, we explain this. If you want to sell your house, you need to declutter. You get all your personal items down, especially if we're taking pictures. We don't want your personal wedding pictures or
you can't have pictures of the grandkids on the wall or anything like
that. But some people, you'll walk in and they have a whole wall of family pictures, from all the different years, or they, if it's done where it's a decoration. But a lot of us, like me, I have my whole wall is all of their single pictures and our family picture in the middle, and people walk in, and so a lot of agents will tell you no personal stuff at all, and have you take it down. I think Genene and I are really good at going in and saying, okay, you know what, this is a decoration and it's good on that wall. Leave this, but move all of this because it takes away from the look of your home. So, and some people do get offended.
Yeah, but some people, for the most part, they'll say, what do I need to do? Tell me what we need to do. And we just go through. My son is actually a professional stager, and a lot of times we'll have him come with us. And, he'll, and it doesn't even mean taking your stuff out and bringing his stuff in. We can make it so that it looks like a staged home with your stuff, if we do it right, and willing to take down your personal stuff and move a few things around, and you would be surprised at the difference just moving a few pieces of furniture around, taking a couple of pieces out. It makes a huge difference and you really have to be willing to work with your realtor and take their suggestions if you really wanna sell your house.
And how do you handle if the seller says, I want this amount of money out of my house and it's not worth that?
Okay, Lisa.
You know, we actually get that a lot,
Mhm.
and depending on the circumstances, we have to educate. And what we do when we come in and let's say we're going to list your house and we come in, we show you what's sold, what comps, and I think people need to be educated on the market for COVID. It was artificial.
Mhm.
Having 3 offers on every home and homes going above asking, and that was an artificial market. When we look at 2019, that really is the market that we should be comparing normal to. And those days are not going to, well, in my estimation, I don't think we're gonna see that
I
again.
don't think so.
What if you bought during that time and you bought for, $20,000 more than the house really is worth?
Well, that's exactly where I'm going with this, is we go to the comps and show you, when you have an appraisal done, this is what your house is going to be able to sell for, because most people have to get a loan. Unless it's cash, those people have to fit in what the appraisal will be. And so if you're asking $50,000 more than appraised value, unless there's some weird circumstance with your house, or there's some crazy thing that your house is sitting right where 5 people want it. Right now, I think yesterday I was looking at the numbers, and our numbers in, how many listings, Genene, do you know?
In Wasatch County,
Right now?
a little under 400.
Yeah, so the numbers are high, so there's not gonna be 5 people that are gonna bid on one house. And that is the only way you're gonna get over appraised value.
Or if we have a cash buyer that doesn't care, that,
And those do come in our valley, but they are also smart, and they're not gonna pay a lot over value. Because
Right.
they will look at the comps. People with cash that come in have done this before, and they're not gonna overpay. So if you overpaid in that particular market, you're gonna be in your house for a little while, but our valley is not gonna drop huge amounts. We have dropped and corrected a little, and people are waiting for a big correction. There's enough cash in our community, in that artificial market I was talking about. A lot of people would put huge cash deposits down in order to get those bids. So there's so much cash in these homes that people aren't gonna drop the value. And the way the value would drop is if people have to lower their price on their house to sell, then those become the comps, and so everything drops. But there's so much cash that a lot of people can't afford to and won't drop huge amounts. And statistically, it's showing that we're holding, and that we'll start to continue to go up as people get used to the high interest rates. When I started real estate years ago, it was, the interest I think was 12% the first time I sold a house.
We paid 8% years ago for our house.
And then it dropped,
Mhm.
dropped to 9, and we were used to that. And unfortunately, it's hard to say it this way, but the buyers are gonna go, okay, we're gonna get used to where it lands, because that's what we have to pay. We don't have that choice. If you need a loan, you're gonna pay the interest, and there'll be buy down programs and there'll be things, but I don't think we're gonna see 3% for a while.
No,
And so, once people get used to that, then things are gonna level off, and then this valley is just gonna increase. I look at Midway, and the developing, there isn't much left to develop.
Mhm.
We're trying to keep the open space as much as we can, and we're trying to keep Midway rural and that feel, but people love Midway, and they're coming to Midway, and we get people who say, no, I wanna be in Midway. And there is only so many houses. So that value, just by sheer demand, is gonna continue to increase. Not like it did, but it will go up. And so if there's a drop right now in a home, it will come back. It's just gonna take it a little time.
We hear all the time, oh, they just moved here from California, had a lot of money from a home they sold, and that's basically my neighborhood. And so that's good and it's bad, because they paid $1 million for a house that wasn't anywhere near that, and they're completely remodeling it. So what that has done is made my home more valuable, but somebody trying to buy it is making it more expensive.
Yep,
And so it just doesn't work.
yeah,
Well, and what it did is it made all of us who've lived in our homes, made those values go up, but it also made that assessment go up, because I know in the last year, everybody is really having a hard time with the tax rate, the increase of taxes. But those assessments show that that's what your home's worth, and and they're still selling. They are still selling. Yes, the prices have dropped and it's not as crazy. Well, when I say dropped, we're talking 20 or 30,000. We're not talking huge drops.
Genene, what do you say about, I had an assessor once I thought was just out of his mind. It's one man's opinion.
an appraiser?
How does an appraiser work?
That's a good question. It's funny, and they're all different. Like, we recently had a commercial business appraised, and when we saw it, we were just, it was laughable. And so it's really hard. It's really hard to find a good one. I again, just like, I mean, find comps, find people that have used this person and they're consistent.
The problem is that we can't pick. It used to be that you picked the appraiser.
That's a question I had, okay.
No, what happens is when you go to get a mortgage and you need an appraisal, the mortgage company puts it into the appraisal clearing house, so to speak, and it goes to the next person on the list. Sometimes that really hurts us. If that person's from Utah County and they're used to doing Utah County, they're not used to the area up here. And that, we just had a different, actually, commercial business. And the appraisal came in and it was not correct. And this person was from out of town, and he was from Utah County. And so we appealed it, and there's a process that your realtor can help and appeal it if there are comps, strong ones, that show that it is vastly different. You can appeal an appraisal, and we did that, and he realized he had not seen those because I don't think he understood what our area is and what he was looking for.
He was comping our business to businesses in Ogden.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, so, and that's true if you're selling your house. But if you personally wanna get your own appraisal, you can pick your own appraiser, and you need to do your research and find one that's consistent and knows the area.
Is there a set price for an appraiser?
It depends on the size of your house, your property.
It's usually based on the square footage.
Years ago, we had a home appraised, and I remember the appraiser drove up and sat in front of the house in his car and scribbled some stuff and drove off, and I thought, wow. And
Yeah.
magically it came to where it needed to be.
I was just gonna add
Yeah.
that an appraisal, if you have a willing buyer at a certain price and a willing seller at that price, then typically an appraiser will try to get as close to that as possible,
So
because
the appraiser knows then what you're asking for
Yeah.
that house, okay?
yeah, because if you look at the definition, when they appraise it, it is, if you appraise something for way more than you have a buyer, that appraisal is not going to be valid. But if you have a willing buyer and a willing seller at a certain amount, they shoot for that, because then the market must be close, because you have two different parties willing to be at a certain number.
But we have had sales where we've had willing buyer, willing seller, same price, and the appraiser came in way short. And those are the times you can appeal it, and sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't, but in those cases, then the seller has to go down to.
Seller has to adjust.
Yeah,
Renegotiation.
and that's tough. And
Does that happen often?
not too often, but when it does it's hard.
And it's
It's really
tough
hard.
to see that come back and say, no, it's not worth that, and
Yeah.
try again.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes when you try again with a new appraiser, it comes back and it's right, but where it has to go through the clearinghouse, you don't have that option.
Mhm.
Because that appraisal is recorded for 6 months. So, unless you have cash or something different, to go get a new appraisal isn't the answer. It used to be, we used to do that, but you can't do that now. And so that appraisal is recorded, especially if it's an FHA mortgage application, and anyone coming in isn't going to get anything better than that, because that, you're kinda stuck with that.
Tell me about FHA, what's the advantage of that, how does that help you?
FHA is insured, federally insured,
Mhm.
and, first-time home buyers, I would say, are the best, it helps them the best. An FHA appraiser does not just appraise, but they inspect. So if the stair isn't up to code, or if there's something that's might be dangerous, or, so it's just more broad and more controlling than other just regular conventional. But that's because it's federally insured. They're insuring it. They're letting a first-time home buyer do sometimes 100% financing. And so, because they're insuring it, and so because of that, it's just more strenuous, more regulation.
So if that first-time home buyer defaults on the loan, then what happens to that? FHA pays it off?
Yeah, it goes back to FHA, and they pay the difference if there's a loss. They don't pay it off.
And it goes back on the market again?
It goes to foreclosure.
Mhm.
And when a home goes to foreclosure, the mortgage company takes it back, and then they have all the legal fees, and then it goes to sale on the courthouse steps. Really, sale on the courthouse steps, if it's an undervalued property, people come and they bid on the courthouse steps. But really, most of the time,
You don't see that very often.
no, most of the time, it is just a transfer of title.
Mhm.
It's just a way to say, the mortgage company bought this property on the courthouse steps. It went to foreclosure, so that changes title from the people who lost it into the mortgage company's name. The mortgage company buys it back at what they owe every time, unless there's people bidding above what they owe.
I'm talking with Lisa Orme and Genene Miles from Heber Valley Hometeam. Last week we talked just for a second about this new development that's coming in. Down as you head to Midway.
The one on Main Street?
Yeah, well,
Yes.
you mentioned there's gonna be kind of you're gonna have a clubhouse and tell me a little bit more about the price that you're seeing.
You have to build, you buy the unit and you have to build through them. Last week I asked for kind of a range, and it's 600,000 to 800,000 for those townhomes. So,
It's right in the ballpark really then.
Yeah.
the front.
I mean, you hate to say that, but that's.
The front, they are gonna be totally custom, so I'm thinking that's probably gonna be low, because a lot of people are gonna add on and build up, and they're gonna have a lot of add-ons.
Are they gonna be connected townhomes, is that the idea?
Yes,
Mhm.
they will be, and then the front half are located in our, a commercial area,
Mhm.
which makes those be able to be nightly rental. So the front half of that property is commercial, they came and wanted to do it all, we didn't do that, we left it the way it is, so it will only be the front, I don't remember how many, can be, so in that area, those might go a little higher, because then it kicks into the investment property. Because people could stay there or nightly rent it, they can get income without locking it up for a year at a time. And in Midway, there's a lot of people who are looking for that.
And they will manage that. They will have a property manager on site that you have to rent your property through. So it's all controlled by the owner of the project.
If I would say, if you could think of one home in town that you would love to see sold, and what would it be? Can you give me an idea of the price and a little bit about the home?
Go ahead.
Is there something that, I don't know if I'm making myself very clear.
Yeah,
but you
so
spot
you're
it.
just saying,
There's one house that you think, wow, this is a beautiful home, I'm glad we have it, you know, we'd love to sell it, and here's why.
one of the ones that we have right now is right by the Midway School. It's a great neighborhood, it's a great home. You know, a family has lived there for a lot of years, and it's a corner lot. And it's a, I would say the neighborhood is perfect. It's literally in the yard of the school. So for a starting family with kids at the elementary school, and that's one that
It's a great family home.
yeah.
So, yeah.
And the price would be?
It's just a little over $1 million. It's, close to 4,000 square feet.
Oh, it's a big house.
It's a big house. It's on a beautiful corner lot. It's fenced. It's been well taken care of. Really nice yard.
How many people would have that kind of money to buy that?
You know, that is really, that $1 million right now is a typical sale in our valley.
See, I just can't get I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, our median, last time I checked, and it changes all the time, and I can bring more numbers next week. But last time I checked, the median home price was like $749,000. That's your starter basic, median house price. And so the ones that are bigger, that have 6 bedrooms, are that's where it's gonna put you. And I'm amazed at the people who can get that, who qualify for that. But I think everything's gone up and has to, and people are doing it. I'm amazed, really, from where when I started real estate, $150,000 was, a good sale, and in this valley.
Well,
and
when you talk about 500,000, not long ago that was like, oh my gosh, who can afford that? And now you're saying, now it's up to $1 million. Like, if you say 500,000, or somebody comes in and says, I want to spend 500,000, like, you need to go to Utah County or Salt Lake, because there's nothing in this valley that's 500,000.
there's a few that will pop up, but you're gonna have to put a lot of work into.
Fixer-uppers, which blows my mind.
That is amazing. I'm so far behind on prices, and because we've been in this little house for 8 years and didn't pay anywhere near $500,000 for it, and now you're telling me it's worth $750,000.
Isn't that amazing?
That is amazing, yeah. So, all right.
So, yeah.
What did we miss today? What would you like to? But we have just a couple of minutes left, Sharon.
Well, I want to shout out to Mike Kohler, our state representative. It's his birthday today. So anyone listening who runs into Mike Kohler today, tell him happy birthday.
Okay.
Just a quick thing, we mentioned last week, you said, what is that big hotel you can see from the hospital?
Yeah.
And I'm glad Lisa started talking about it, because I was like, wait, what? Have I missed something? So we drove out there, and it's not a hotel. They're apartments,
Oh.
apartments,
That
built.
you can see from the parking lot of the
Yes,
hospital.
and if you
Yeah.
go Daniels Road, down by Airport Road,
Mhm.
you can see them, I don't know
There's
how many.
townhomes along the edges, so I haven't looked.
But they're apartments, and my husband actually worked for Pentel, who's building them in Salt Lake, I thought to myself, man, those look just like the ones my husband was building in Salt Lake, and they are. They're really nice apartments, and so hopefully, I don't know what the price is going to be, but hopefully they'll be affordable for people to.
Are they rentals or sales?
No, they're apartments.
Okay.
So maybe there's some house, some.
And
fairly
there might be
decent
some
quality.
rentals, I'm not positive how they're working, I shouldn't say they're not rentals, but, we'll find out and maybe talk about it next week, cause there's a lot of them out there. We drove by there and I was like, holy cow, they went up really fast.
Well, I just happened to, I had some blood work done and I came out of the hospital and all of a sudden here's this great big 4 or 5 story building
Yeah.
not far from
Their
the
apartments.
hospital.
And I thought you were talking about the one that had been approved on Main Street that
Mhm.
was controversial,
Mhm.
and I thought, have I missed them starting that, but they haven't started the one on Main Street. Looks like there's a for sale sign up there, I don't know if that means it may not, or, but.
The little hardware store, the ex-hardware store across the street, if there's any interest in that at the moment, hearing any buzz?
We've heard rumors that it was going to be a restaurant in the beginning, but
Yeah,
haven't seen
and
anything going on.
nothing concrete yet,
Okay.
so there's a lot of little, pockets on Main Street that we're waiting to see what happens here or there, or,
Somebody told me there's a creek that runs underneath it.
There-
I wonder
that
if
is
you
the
could
truth.
Make it
It
into a
is.
park or something, that'd be nice just on Main Street.
when we had the floods, would have been when I was in high school.
80 something,
Yeah, and
like
that
85 maybe.
that flooded and came right under and onto Main Street, and yeah, those were, I don't know, what, watching Main Street be a river and people in boats, and
Okay.
that's quite the experience.
And the rumor mill, is it Carver's, the restaurant out there?
Culver's.
Culver's.
Not anymore, it's going to be an Indian restaurant.
Indian.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so has it been purchased and it's on its way? And-
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's good to know. I mean,
Yeah.
I really missed that. I enjoyed their food and don't know what happened, but.
And this last week, there was a ribbon cutting, there is an ice cream shop now open at the Homestead that opened last week.
Okay,
I can't think of the name, it just left me. So,
The milk barn or milk.
yeah, the Milk House, I think.
Milk house.
Anyway, but that is now open at the Homestead, so we're just slowly, adding on businesses, and, the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory in Midway, looks like it's doing well, there's people there all the time,
I'm not positive about Culver's what happened, but I think they were a victim of COVID and just lost employees and didn't have any help, and you can't open your business, you can't pay your bills, and
I think you're right.
so I really think that's what happened. I could be wrong, but
so we're at a time in the real estate business, that people are thinking more of the holidays than selling or buying, so you get to
that's true.
spend a little more time at home and a little bit more time with family than you normally would.
Yes,
And you expect it, it's gonna happen every year.
Every year,
yeah.
yeah, from Thanksgiving to first of the year, people don't want you to come in and show their house when it's decorated and they have presents up, and their tree up and presents around, and people don't want to spend time doing that
Or
when they
you
wanna be
track
with
snow
family.
through the house or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, they just,
Some do. Some want to try to get rid of it before the first of the year, but
well, some,
for the most part, they don't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
but you have it on both sides was my point. The buyers, all of the buyers are busy trying to be with family. Some come into town for the holidays, and so we do some, but it's not typical, because both sides are kind of, oh, we're having a party, or what,
Mhm.
so you get it from sellers and buyers, but it is a buyer's market right now. So anyone out there who has been waiting and watching, it's not gonna get better for a buyer. Our prices are gonna continue to hold and start going back up as the interest rates, as people get used to them, and as they as they really hold.
You think you're probably at the bottom then of the interest rates at the moment?
So at the moment, I don't know how it'll be the first of the year, it might change, the interest rates might come down, but you can buy down,
Mm-hmm.
so you can get a decent interest rate, get into something that you're paying lower for, because you can negotiate right now, because there's a whole bunch on the market and not a lot of buyers. So if a buyer's smart, and if they've been waiting, right now is a buyer's market, and time to call and go look at things, because, when we get into the spring and the buyers start coming again, those deals that you could get right now because you could negotiate because there aren't enough buyers, that's gonna go away, because spring hits and people start moving. So just anyone out there who's thinking that they want to buy and they've been waiting, I wouldn't wait a long time, because winter prices are always typically lower, and holidays, people aren't looking, and right now there's a lot on the market.
How do they reach you?
They can call me, my phone number is 435-671-2336.
And mine is 435-513-0328.
Or they can also call our office,
Okay.
Davis Coleman Realty or we're online, we are right at the corner, right next to Walgreens, so we're not on the corner, we're right next to Walgreens, but our office has been in the same place for 40 years, people can see it, if they just pull in there, they can walk in and talk to one of us and we can help.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate this. I always have questions, and hopefully that it's of some value to you. It's nice to talk to somebody who can answer those questions, and somebody that knows what's going on around town.
I have city council tonight, so I will keep notes of anything
And that's Midway City Council.
Midway City Council tonight. Yep, I know we have a couple of public hearings on some issues, so it'll be interesting, and I can report next week.
The lights are up in Midway, and it's so beautiful
Yeah, they're
drive
so
through there
beautiful.
at night, and all the trees are lit, and the big tree, and the Christmas things that are going on.
This morning, driving through town with that heavy snow and the light shining through, it just, so
pretty.
beautiful.
You can see why people would wanna live here, except if they wanna drive through Saturday afternoon.
That's true.
I had an experience, we had the tree lighting, and I was the MC of the tree lighting, and a gentleman who I know has a second home, at the tree lighting, we did Santa, we had the Swiss Miss perform, we had the tree lighting, we had fireworks, we gave out hot chocolate and Seuss cookies. You know, Grand Valley Bank always donates that, and I mean, there's all these things that were happening. And a gentleman came up at the end, and we light candles in the beginning, and he came up and he said, I was just in a Hallmark movie. And that is really where we live.
Mhm.
That is what it is, and I'm grateful for that. One thing I would encourage everybody in town that is enjoying those trees, all of the Christmas trees up and down, or the lit trees on Main Street, have been sponsored by a business.
Mhm.
And there's a sign on Main Street, and just pay attention to those businesses that have sponsored those trees. I think that's value to them and to the consumers.
Who goes around and sells those trees? Is somebody responsible for that?
It's through the Midway Business Alliance. There's a Midway Business Alliance, and through the city puts out information that we would love to have you sponsor a tree, and it just makes it nice for all the community to have it lit for Christmas and have a beautiful setting, and it does make a difference.
It does make a difference. You know, I see it every morning as I'm driving through at 4:45, but if you go through there at night, it's just almost startling, so.
The only thing that could be better is our tree could be hot pink instead of white. I've been teasing the mayor about my tree being
You
pink.
want it to be a hot pink tree? I don't think
A
so.
hot pink mess.
I said in the middle of the night, some night I'm gonna put some pink lights on our tree. Anyway, but I just think that, it's come together, and I know that Heber had their tree lighting this weekend. I was at a wrestling tournament with the girls wrestling team, so I missed it, but, I guess theirs went well, and their main street's lit, and
It's beautiful.
They're playing music all the
Valley is
time,
beautiful.
and Midway too, that's kinda fun.
Yeah.
You stop at the post office and hear, you kinda have to look around to see where that's
Yeah.
coming from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the skating rink, I think, always has it going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with that open air skating rink, it just gives it such a feel.
And again, it's a very hallmark of the skating rink and the cocoa and the counting down, and it is very hallmark. I didn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming in, both of you. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
See you next Tuesday, right?
Okay, we'll be here.